What's up YouTube? Welcome to my channel, Andrea René Abroad, where I talk about Peace Corps, travel, and working abroad. I'm a returned Peace Corps volunteer who served in Nicaragua from August of 2016 to April of 2018. I'm so glad to be here with you all today. I took a break last week for Thanksgiving, and I hope that all of you who are in the United States enjoyed a wonderful Thanksgiving as well, if you do indeed celebrate it. As it turns out, there is only a few more weeks left in my au pair experience. I can hardly believe that I've already been in Australia for 3 months, and I will soon be departing on Christmas Eve and then ending my experience as an au pair. So over the next few weeks, I'm going to be releasing a few more videos. As usual, my videos always come out on Mondays at 8 a.m. Australian Melbourne time. So for those of you in the United States, they always come out on Sundays at the moment. So I'm going to be making a few more videos about Melbourne day trips, and then one of you requested that I make a video about my au pair experience, and I basically have just been waiting until the end of my experience to actually do a video about what it was like to be an au pair. And then finally I'll do a video. My last video here in Australia will just be a packing video, so you can all see what it's like to pack up your life after you have been working abroad for an extended period of time. Last week I put out a blast on my Instagram and Facebook feed, and I really appreciate everyone who sent me video ideas for this channel. I'm always looking for new video ideas, as I would like the content to be relevant to all of you and useful to all of you. So if you have an idea for a video, please comment below and I will definitely read it and try and make a video about it in the near future. So what am I going to be talking about in today's video? So my best friend actually reached out to me and said that she would be really interested to know more about Australian food and cuisine. So I thought it would be really fun if I just take you all to my host family's kitchen and we have a look around their fridge, their cabinets, and see what's in there and what is slightly different from what you might find in a kitchen in the United States. So let's head to the kitchen. Here we are in the kitchen, and we're actually going to start in the refrigerator. And when I actually first got here to this family's house, I did not realize that this was their refrigerator, just because it's the same color as all of their cabinets, so it was a little bit misleading. But anyways, let's go ahead and open it up. So here you can see the inside of my host family's Australian refrigerator, and you will see that many of the items are actually quite recognizable. You probably are looking at them and seeing some name brands such as the Chobani yogurt, and you totally know what that is, and you're looking at leftovers and it looks just like how it does in the United States. A lot of the items are quite recognizable to the American eye, but if you were to open up the vegetable drawer, you would find a few items that are a little bit different from what you would find in a typical American refrigerator, just because they have a lot of vegetables that actually come over from Southeast Asia, because they have a large influx of immigrants from Southeast Asia. So you will see that they will have, for example, this is choy sum. They have this. Let's see, this is Chinese broccoli, so you have that. And my family is a white Australian family, but they do purchase these products on a regular basis. So often in my refrigerator, I will find Asian vegetables in here, which I normally would not find those kind of vegetables in my own refrigerator in the United States. There are a few items in the refrigerator that are labeled differently than they would be in the United States. One of my favorites is they just called ketchup tomato sauce here, which is a little bit confusing because I feel like, you know, ketchup is very specific. You're saying, please pass the ketchup, whereas you say pass the sauce, I feel like it could be any sauce. Also, you will find that milk is labeled differently here. So it says light milk rather than skim milk, and then this one says full cream milk rather than whole milk. So again, there's just a few things that are labeled differently than in the United States. Let's now have a peek into their freezer. This is a triple drawer freezer, and the first thing that I do want to point out are the Super Dupers. So in America, we call these Otter Pops. So my host kids that I take care of absolutely love Super Dupers in the same way that American kids love Otter Pops. So that's a slight difference. Let's see if there's anything else that I see. No, I would say pretty much everything else in here is the same that you would find in an American cuisine and kitchen. So now here we are at the pantry, which is just right next to their refrigerator, and you can see that they have a wide variety of different nuts and seeds, which I think are quite typical to an American kitchen as well, such as chia seeds, pine nuts, almonds, all of those different nuts and seeds that you would typically find in an American kitchen. The one thing that I do want to draw your attention to is their Australian coffee machine. This coffee machine has been my fail-safe in my time here in Australia. I am definitely a coffee drinker. While I was in Peace Corps, I used a French press, and when I'm in America, I just drink percolated coffee. So I was really excited to find out how Australians drink their coffee, and they essentially drink an espresso style of coffee. They have really small quantities, and then, you know, they add water or milk to those espresso shots. So that's basically the way it works. But let me go ahead and make you all a cup of coffee. I personally prefer a long black, so that's what I'm gonna make for all of you today. I just wanted to first point out to you cup size. So in America, when we drink percolated coffee, it is kind of basically, it's like making the coffee like you would tea. So it's not very thick, it's not very condensed. So in America, we always have really big mugs of coffee, but here the mug sizes are pretty small. I always go for this one just because I am used to the larger American size cups, but my host mom and dad always use this tiny size whenever they make themselves a cup of coffee, and they always drink it extremely fast. I always sip my coffee, and I'm always shocked at how quickly they very much treat coffee like a shot. And I've also heard people say that they always have a 9 o'clock and a 3 o'clock. So they'll have that first caffeine fix at 9 a.m. and then again at 3 p.m. This actually threw me off a little bit because I think in America we always have our cup of coffee like first thing in the morning if you're a coffee drinker. So before I learned how to use this machine, I was honestly kind of suffering because I would have to wait a few hours until my host parents made themselves a cup of coffee at around 9 o'clock, if not 10. That was definitely a difference that I noticed. So if you come to Australia, know that people will be grabbing their cup of coffee at 9 a.m. and then again at 3 p.m. And it is quite common to get that 3 p.m. cup of coffee. A lot of times my host mom will be making one here on the machine, and she'll always ask me if I want one as well around 3 p.m. And I always say yes. I've kind of gotten used to the 9 and the 3. So I just went ahead and lowered the camera just so you can see the machine really well. While I'm making the cup of coffee, I just turned on the power just a little bit ago just to get it going, and we're gonna go ahead and begin by removing this part of the coffee machine. There are two sizes for where you put the coffee. So this right here is the double size, and this is the single. My host parents usually will use the double shot to make one for each of them. You can make two beverages at the same time, but in my case, I usually just make one. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the single shot, which just, you can see it's a little bit shallower and narrower at the base. So all you do basically is you can use the one to remove the double shot, take this out, and then you're gonna put the single shot in there. And then I'm gonna take the measuring cup basically, which is the same size as a single shot, and just measure out the coffee that I want. We're actually kind of at the end of this coffee tin, so I think I'm just gonna go ahead and pour the remainder coffee in this. So the coffee is not incredibly fancy. My host family just uses the Illy brand, which is available in the United States as well, but it does make good coffee and it tastes pretty good. Once the coffee is in this part of the espresso machine, you take this little thing. This is quite heavy actually, and it's meant to press down the coffee. So I'm gonna go ahead and set this here to be able to press down the coffee efficiently. My host dad taught me to tap the sides basically like this to make sure that the coffee is in there and it forms a perfect little coffee cake. All right, so I think that's sufficiently pressed, so I'm gonna go ahead and stick this back in here, push it over to the side. Here's my coffee cup, and I'm just gonna place this right under here. This next part is actually quite noisy, so you just go ahead and turn on the machine. And you can see the coffee coming out from there, and it eventually starts to turn yellow. And when it's almost kind of like a yellowy white, that's when you know to turn it off. So that should be about good. So now I'm going to go ahead and heat up the water to officially make a long black, which basically is an Americano, but if you ever come to Australia and you want an Americano, you need to say that you want a long black. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the kettle to heat up the water. All right, so I just added the water to my coffee espresso, creating a long black, or an Americano as you all would call it in the United States. I'm now in their second pantry, and this is actually a very important important pantry as it contains a few items that are very specific to the Australian diet. So the first one, and you probably guessed it, is the famous or infamous Vegemite. So Australians absolutely love Vegemite. They will have Vegemite and butter sandwiches. They will make toast and then put Vegemite on it with a little bit of butter. Australians absolutely love this, and people will ask, what even is Vegemite? Great question. It's definitely partially a processed food, but it says that it's really good for B vitamins. I don't know how much that is actually true, but let's see. If we look at the ingredients, it says yeast extract, salt, mineral salt, color, flavors, lysine, thymine, riboflavin, and folate. So you can tell that it's a processed food, and I don't know, it has kind of an interesting smell to it. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know if I can describe the smell to you all. It's very unique. The taste is very salty. I have tried Vegemite on multiple occasions, but I think the problem with Vegemite is it is so salty, and so, you know, the first time you have it on your toast, you'll have a teeny bit. But as your taste buds get used to it, you'll feel like you need to add more and more. And so I try not to eat it just because I know it is very high in salt. The next thing in here that is quintessentially Australian are the crumpets. So these are basically kind of like English muffins, but they're a little bit more porous, and you would eat them like you would a piece of toast. They typically take a little bit longer to be toasted. You need to leave them on a higher setting. In this case, they always put the setting to like 7 or 8. So whereas that would burn toast, that just perfectly cooks up a crumpet. And then you can pretty much put anything on it that you would put on toast. So people might put butter on it, or honey, or jam. I personally like to put jam on my crumpets, and I've absolutely adored this Australian item. I know I am absolutely going to be packing some of these home when I go home to America. The last thing that's in here that I would like to point out to you all is the golden syrup, as well as the maple syrup. I'm not sure if it's because we're so far away from Canada or what it is, but I have never had pancakes here, and it is not as common to eat pancakes for breakfast as it is in America. At least I haven't felt like it is, especially being that I am with a young family. When I was a kid in America, we would eat pancakes basically once a week, like on Sundays as a special treat, whereas I don't really see that happening here. And you can also see that the maple syrup bottle is very, very small, and I think they've had this same maple syrup bottle the entire time that I've been here. The other thing that they have is golden syrup, which I think is often just like a replacement for molasses. I haven't really seen anybody using molasses here, but I think golden syrup is just kind of what they use instead. I haven't tried it, but my host mom says it's like a little bit more sweet than maple syrup. So these two items are, I think, unique to Australia as well. I just remembered one last thing that I wanted to point out. So I feel like for the most part, muesli is a pretty new thing in the American diet. It's kind of in tandem with the vegan movement and the getting rid of processed foods movement. And basically, if you don't know what muesli is, it's raw granola. So rather than baking the granola, you just leave it raw, and you can put it on your oatmeal or just eat it in like a bowl of cereal with some milk. So muesli is really, really popular here. They have like an entire section at the grocery store right next to oatmeal and granola that is dedicated to muesli. So definitely it is a staple part of the Australian diet. So that pretty much ends my tour of the kitchen. As you can see, the Australian kitchen is very similar to the American kitchen, but there are a few things that are very distinctly Australian. So that's all I have for you today. I hope you found it interesting to poke around in an Australian kitchen. I had a lot of fun making this video. If you enjoyed it and you got value from it and you want more content like this, please hit that like button. And if you are new, I would love for you to subscribe to this channel. It really helps out the channel when I get more subscribers. So I will see you all next week. Don't forget to check me out on Instagram, Facebook, and my WordPress account. I would love to see you all over there as well.